Right.
But you could use what have you been using? GarageBand or something
No,
else?
I'm using no. What I'm using is Adobe Audition,
Oh, okay.
which may be the problem. You
Well,
know.
that's what we use that here on our Windows machines, but we're using a really old version of it.
Yeah, which is better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Adobe Audition, and it's the new it's the sixth version.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like
CS6.
yeah, it's CS6, and I like it. It's fine, but it just it's so wadded up and clunky. It's really hard to deal with.
Oh, yeah. I know what you mean, man.
You know, it's like seriously. I mean, come on now.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
know. I definitely know what you mean. I'm not a fan of it on,
yeah,
especially on the Mac.
I'm gonna have to find it. If I can't find a better if I can't find a better program, I'm gonna have to go ahead and get a different one.
Yeah.
And I thought about Pro Tools, but that's a lot of money. But I'm running out of options here.
Well, let me.
People
I'll
say,
see if I can find a one that's not too, the one that's kind of effective or not so. I know what you mean by clunky though, but
yeah, I mean, it's like it used to be a very, very fine little program, and then it turned into this behemoth of Adobe program
here
sensibilities.
here we go, man. Back
Ready.
in 5 seconds. All right.
You are listening to the Wells Report. I am John David Wells. Thanks for joining us. Telephone number is 844-927-6691. Do you understand what I'm saying? Look, this is a well-worn and well-used track to take the American people out of elective politics, and we have to stop it. It started with the Obama years. It's been continuing with the Trump years because people suddenly realized, if we just tell the story of a malfunctioning presidency over and over and over again, and we back it up with, how they say a picture is worth 1,000 words? Have you seen a flattering picture of Donald Trump yet? He either looks like he's sneering, or he looks like he's in pain, or he looks angry, or something along that line. All of these things are happening. All of these things to try to cast aspersions on this president. A president that was selected by we the people, not selected by the presidents, not selected by the Republican Party, hated universally by the Democrat Party, and understood as a threat to everything by the mainstream media, everything that they've been working on from a political standpoint forever. This is essentially a slow motion political coup against Donald Trump. And the only people that keep him in office is us. If you like this president, you're going to have to continue working to keep him. Which means you're going to have to start taking charge of certain things with regards to your senators and your House of representatives, people that represent you in the House of Representatives. The Senate of the United States is working toward trying to figure out some way of not passing this tax bill, like they did not pass the Obamacare repeal bill. In the Senate, a harried public effort to hammer through potentially hundreds of amendments to approve their tax proposal in committee is what they're trying to do right this very moment. So convenient, these rules of the Senate. Should GOP leaders accomplish their goals in both chambers over the next 5 days, this could be the most successful legislative week in President Donald Trump's tenure. And he's also having another incredible foreign policy junket, this time out in the Pacific Rim. And isn't it strange that there is nothing that Donald Trump can be accused of or be made fun of because of, or any number of other things, so they had to resort to Roy Moore? Isn't it strange that once again the president is on the brink of a brilliant political move? The last one, the Obamacare repeal, destroyed by John McCain. Yeah, okay, John. Yeah, welcome to your lame duck oblivion. We're really going to miss you, not. This is what happens when a bitter old man just can't get his mind wrapped around the fact that we, the people of the United States, are the boss here. He just can't get his mind around it. He's a United States senator. He's John McCain. Yeah, you are John McCain. The guy that I refused to vote for president. I voted for Duncan Hunter, the elder one, not the new one. Although the new Duncan Hunter is just as good as the old one here, as I can tell. I voted for Duncan Hunter because he was the only conservative in the race, except, of course, for Sarah Palin. This is another one of those situations where the mainstream media destroyed someone, Sarah Palin, in a plain effort to determine who our candidates are going to be. That's what these debates are all about. Yes, the Commission on Presidential Debates has announced that there will be 4,622 presidential debates in the next presidential campaign. Someone will screw up that we don't like enough so that we can destroy their political career and get the person we want in that office in that time, I'm sure. This is all calculated. This is not a conspiracy, except it's a conspiracy. This is not paranoia because it's actually happening. You can open the newspaper and you can see the exact evidence that I'm talking about. You can see it in the newspaper. Turn on your television, watch any newscast. See, that's one of the cool things about this job. I can't be bought. Oh, I suppose they could destroy me if they wanted to. Just like they did with Bill O'Reilly. They tried to do it with Sean Hannity. It's going to be a little bit more difficult with me. But somebody's going to tell you the truth. And right now it's my turn. Bill O'Reilly on the sidelines right now. He tried to do it too. Really appreciated what Bill O'Reilly did every night, although sometimes I thought he was a bit full of himself. I got nothing except today's news and today's truth. You get both every time you turn on this broadcast, so keep turning it on. I'm not going to let you get garbage and say, this is the world's most beautiful prime rib. No, I'm going to tell you it's garbage. I'm going to tell you it's the swamp fighting back. The House of Representatives will pass the tax reform bill. It'll be fine. The Senate is going to be the problem. You are going to have to vote. You're going to have to vote by sending an email to your senators all across this land. Wherever you hear my voice, whether you're writing a Democrat or whether you're writing a Republican, you are going to have to write a letter saying, give us tax relief or I will come and visit you in the ballot box the next chance I get. I will vote for your successor in the next election. That's what you do. It's not just that you have to do it because this person is not necessarily, he's not a bad person, great human being. You might like him a lot. It's not just a state thing, though. It's a national thing. The entire nation is hanging on a few votes for senators in the next couple of elections. That's where the battleground is, as we saw with John McCain, sassily standing there in front of everybody, giving the melodramatic downvote on the repeal of Obamacare. And the Republicans willing to go down in flames rather than give Donald Trump any kind of victory in their chamber. What does that tell you about the party that you supported your whole life? It tells you that the party you've supported your whole life has been lying to you your whole life. At least in the United States Senate. They had 7 years to vote against Obamacare, and they voted all 7 years against Obamacare until it actually mattered, and then they voted, no, we're not going to take out Obamacare because we kind of like it. Yeah. Gives us a lot of real political leverage against the American people. And that's what we need. More leverage against the American people. Yeah. We need them to spend money that they don't have so that they can't spend money on things like educating their children. We need to make sure that when they educate their children are educated the way we think they should be educated. In other words, lied to. So they think it's okay to go take a dump on a police car in broad daylight in New York. The Occupy Wall Street movement. Yeah, that's it. Are you kidding me? The answer is no, I'm not kidding you. That is exactly what's happening. And there's exactly one overriding authority that can stop it, and that's you and me and the rest of we the people. Donald Trump is winning the war. The battles may be hard, but the war is not. The Rasmussen Report's daily presidential tracking poll shows that 46% of likely U.S. voters now approve of President Trump's job performance. Latest figures include 30% who strongly approve of the way the president is performing, and 44% of those who strongly disapprove, 53% disapprove of the president. Those are the Democrats, of course. The government jobs report for October showed the hurricane-hit U.S. economy rebounding strongly, with the unemployment rate down to 4.1%, the lowest level since the year 2000. Economic confidence remains high. Rasmussen reports. And then, of course, the damage control against the president, if indeed there's a tax cut bill that is passed. What do you mean damage control? That's good for the American people. Right, it is good for the American people, but it's damage control for the mainstream media. USA Today, being written by Heidi Shibala, actually. President Trump is betting a major tax cut will help his anemic approval ratings and bolster his party ahead of the 2018 midterm elections. But history shows that tax cuts do not actually make presidents more popular. Ronald Reagan was lifted to godlike status, not necessarily when he made those tax cuts, but in the 17th and 18th and 19th and 20th year of a global economic expansion that nobody ever saw, powered by the United States economy. Ronald Reagan became Ronald Reagan. Donald Trump will likely not have that kind of universal acclaim, but he will do the work nonetheless, if he's allowed to by his political masters. With him having political masters, what does that mean? It means that we have political masters. Masters. My dear friends, we have to stop this in its tracks cold as soon as we possibly can. It's not an easy process. Sure, in the House of Representatives, easy. Find someone who has a chance in your local Tea Party and do their best to primary the sitting Republican if you can do it. But make sure that person can beat the Democrat who will likely pop up. That's why all these people quitting, all these mainstream Republicans saying, I'm just not going to have a chance to win in the next election and I'm not going to fight that hard. That's why those open seats need to be occupied by Tea Party folk. Friends of Mike Lee. Friends of Trey Gowdy. That's who you need to send to Washington, D.C. The people, not the politicians. I've said this time and time and time again. If you do not know the people that you're voting for, don't vote for them. And when I mean if you don't know them, I mean if you don't know them. If you don't know who these people are, don't vote for them. Vote for somebody that you know. somebody who's got guts, somebody who's got backbone, somebody who's got steel. Because without sand, backbone, and steel, these people are going to get run right off of the planet by this swamp that refuses to allow it be called by its name. Mitch McConnell, we're going to have to stop calling this swamp stuff here. We're going to stop that. I'm sorry, sir. You live in a swamp. You are one of the prime architects in the ooze and the stink. As far as I'm concerned, this is the chamber you built. All I'm going to do is call it by its name. Because you work for us, not the other way around. You work for us, sir. We are your employers. We deserve and will have a government that operates on behalf of the American people instead of one that operates in spite of the American people. In spite. The poster child for spiteful American government is John McCain. The Senate Republicans want to overthrow the vote of the people of Alabama who sent Luther Strange packing. And they are willing to destroy Roy Moore, a Supreme Court justice. Let me ask you a question. If they're willing to destroy a Supreme Court justice, a beloved Supreme Court justice, in a state with innuendo and nothing more, what chance do you have against this government? If the government of the United States has a dual justice system, one for the power elite and one for the rest of us, and if indeed they are willing to disenfranchise an entire state's worth of voters for their own political agenda, what chance do you and I have to save the republic? Make no mistake, we'll save it. But the one thing you need to keep in mind, right now we're trying to figure out just how noisy the argument about saving it is going to be. Right now it looks pretty damn noisy to me. Practice, practice, practice.
All right, man. You got about 340.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that dramatically.
All right, just holler if you need anything.
You know what? I'm good. How's it sounding to you?
Sounding great, man.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. I appreciate it. Otis Gray is here. Yvonne Field is here. 5 people are watching now.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Okay.
Did you say somebody's there with you?
No. I've got a chat room.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, I've got a chat room.
All right.
And they talk to me.
Awesome. Well, you got a minute and a half left.
Thank you. One minute and one half. So let it be written. So let it be done.
All right, you got 30 seconds.
30 dang seconds. 30 dang seconds. 30 seconds. Eh.
All right, here we go in 10.
You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. What is this all about? Donald Trump is rising above all of this. But make no mistake, this is a swamp. This is a terrible and horrifyingly bad place to live. And he chose this. And he's doing it for free. Because he's an American. He is doing his dead level best to work with those people in the Republican Party who are refusing to reciprocate. There will come a time when he needs to stop and just start being the president of the United States and trusting in the people who put him there, not the Republicans, not the Democrats, we the people. Mitch McConnell is an anti-American leftist political thug. He's a progressive. He does not believe that you are smart enough to be able to pick either a senator from Alabama or a president from the United States. So sure of it, in fact, that they are willing to damage themselves perhaps beyond repair in an effort to prove to Donald Trump just who's boss. Exactly what they did with President George W. Bush in the second term. The last time they had the House, the Senate, and the presidency. Frist. Hastert. Really? Got to be joking me. Got to be joking. I know I am a bore when it comes to the mainstream media. I know I'm a bore when it comes to the mainstream media talking about how the mainstream media is doing its best to damage America beyond repair. But there's a reason why I'm sharing that information with you. It's because the mainstream media is trying to damage this entire republic beyond repair. My job is to make sure that you at least know that it's happening. And if it is indeed happening, which I believe it is, that you have the tools to be able to combat it. Chief among those tools is truth. Truth. There are no charges that actually stick to Donald Trump because he's a smart dude that doesn't make mistakes. I doubt very sincerely that these charges against Roy Moore are actually going to have much effect. But the Senate does have another play. They can refuse to seat Roy Moore, which is something they have not done since 1862. And if Mitch McConnell does that, I'm going to make it my mission to see him lose his next election. I'll make it my mission. Somebody in Kentucky is listening. Make sure that what you do next is you tell people in Kentucky that there's this guy in Dallas, Texas, who's willing to go to war for the United States of America for the sake of all that is good about this great and wonderful land. And we're going to do it, and we're going to take care of it right here on this broadcast. The Wells Report on the USA Radio Network.
All right, sounding good.
Thank you, my friend.
And you got about 6.5, 7 minutes.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Oh. All right. Let's see what's next. Oh.
Mike's no longer here. If I can't have you, nobody can.
What do you mean Mike's no longer there? What?
I'm going home. Sounds like you guys are hitting it off. So
Yeah, we're doing fine. We're doing fine. Everything's good. Like the levels.
All right, I'll talk to you later then.
The only thing I'm confused. Okay. I'm confused as to what the actual drop dead moment is going into the 5850 stop set.
What do you mean?
Well, it's going to be like 5840 that I need to stop talking.
Right.
Okay. Well, the thing about that is that it was 5844 when the music
yeah,
hit
I'm going to
its
fix
post.
your music tonight. I'm going to finally have the chance to do that.
Why don't you just back time? I mean, if the machine is firing it, why don't you just back time it so that it starts at, say, for example, if it's 1:06, it starts at say 57:54.
That's even easier.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to edit the music.
That'll work.
You just back time. You just go back to the point where what you want to do is you want it to be like a half a second. You want it to You want the music bed to end. If 0-0 is where you're trying to get it to end, you want it to end at 59:50.
Right.
Okay. So that way you hear the sting. And right.
Got it.
Right. So just have the music. You don't have to do any of that thinking. Just do the thinking ahead of time and have the music start. Have the music start at a time where it's going to end at the critical moment, because that was at 44, which means that either I got cut off or the music got cut off or both of us got cut off. And I don't want that.
My head were cut off.
What I want is I want all that stuff to end. I want this thing to be slick.
It will be slick. I will have all prettied up by tonight before you come in tomorrow.
Okie as well as dokey.
I have, things got freed up now, so I'll have the actual time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I like your suggestion even better. It makes my life a lot easier.
Easy. Just make it simple. Just set the back time so that when the and then watch it.
All right. So right on the dot, not like a half second, quarter second, nothing like that.
No, what I want you to do is I want you to, like, if the network break at the top of the hour trips at 58:50 on the dot, then the music has got to hit, it's got to end. The music bed has got to be over. Pa pa. Including that little mini fade at like 50, it would be 58:49.5.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, 58:49.5 is when that thing's got to stop.
Now, JD, I know. I just got to back time it in pre-delay time. We'll catch it.
Yeah, and in pre-delay time, and then let the whole thing finish. And then
that's all.
And all we got to do is we've got to get past the fives. We got to get past so that the commercial doesn't start until 20 and 10 seconds. 20, 0, and 10.
Yeah, when David gets back from his thing, me and I are going to sit down and talk about that, because he has to get in the master board to do that.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
That's what you do.
But for now, until David gets back, I'll back time the bumpers for the beds, and we'll be fine.
Okay, good. Yeah, slick is good, Arletta. God bless you, darling. Let's see. Who do we have? How many?
Doll.
I have to. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was talking. Let's see. How many? Let's see. One. Angel Wings is here. Arletta's here. Random Tattoo Tate. Tutate. Sandy Lamb is here. And Yvonne. Evie is here. Good. Yep. So let's see.
Flat, no half second ahead of back.
Huh?
Nothing. I miss you, kitten, already.
Yeah, you're so sweet.
What?
Nothing.
What?
Nothing.
Have a good rest of your show. I'll talk to you soon, pal.
Take good care, man. Missed you already.
No, you don't.
I do.
I'm your cheap board monkey.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Girlfriend.
I do not know what you're talking about.
Now I know the girls of back page feel like. Nothing on that. All right, here we go. Get ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. North to south, coast to coast. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Thanks very much for joining this broadcast. Here's your telephone number. This is how you get here. 844-927-6691. 844-927-6691. You know, I know, everybody in the United States knows that our southern border is a yawning, wide open gateway to illegal contraband being funneled into this nation at a pace that would make you ill if you had any idea how quick and how much this stuff moves across that border. Makes no difference what you're thinking. Everything from everywhere on the planet, if it is contraband and it's destined for the United States, it comes into the United States through Mexico and the southern border of the United States. This is something that has been abused by the government of our southern neighbor, Mexico, for decades. We have spent countless trillions of dollars educating the children of working class Mexicans for decades. This has happened so long that these people are now the playthings of politicians, which is what the DACA program is all about. DACA program. Dreamers. They came here not because of their own volition. They came here because their parents brought them here so that they could just earn a living. Yeah. So their parents living here illegally brought their kids to live here illegally as well. And the operative word is illegal. And the operative word is we're going to stop that. And if indeed it takes a gigantic wall to make that happen, a big dumb concrete wall, like I've been talking about forever, if that's what it takes to be able to keep Mexico, if that's what it takes to keep them honoring their treaty obligations regarding our border, then by God, let's build it. Now, the problem is, where? Where do you build this big, magnificent wall? Do you build it on the Mexican side? Arguably, that makes the most sense. Since Mexico is the one that's abusing the border, it makes you would want to think that that would be the case. But that's not exactly where you build a border or where you build the wall. You see, the wall is in the middle of the Rio Grande River in most places on the border. People own that land that butts right up next to the Rio Grande. Mexicans come and play in that river too. You are quite literally maybe 20 or 30 yards away from your neighbors to the south. And the way the river meanders through the lowlands of Texas, sometimes they can be farther north than you, but still be in Mexico. What we have done is we have been shooting ourselves in the foot politically because politicians want as many people in here to be able to change the demographics of America, change the demographics of America to be able to provide the Democrat Party with more aggrieved victims of racism in the United States so they can have a power base. The people who built this country under duress as slaves, they get dealt out of the game in favor of a bigger, more aggrieved group of people. Brown people, there's only one problem with it. The only problem with brown people is that, they just didn't suffer the racism that America's blacks suffered and continue to. The Civil Rights Act was not intended to protect the civil rights of Hispanics. It was intended to protect the civil rights of America's black population because they earned it. They earned it in the hard currency of their ancestors being bought and sold like livestock. The twin crimes against humanity, slavery and bigotry, played out as a matter of their lives from the time they landed here until 20, 30 minutes ago? But somehow what we were trying to do is we were trying to come up with this, these poor Mexicans, they're just being run amok by these terrible white racists in the United States. Sorry. I wasn't a racist with black Americans. I'm sure not going to be a racist with brown Americans or yellow Americans or red Americans or any other kind of Americans. Americans are my brothers and sisters. And that's the way most people in this country feel. But that's not the way the politicians in this country want us to feel. They want half of us angry at the other half of us. That's how you divide and conquer. That's how that gets done. In order to conquer, you first must divide. It's been working like a charm. All you got to do is hate your fellow man. So we've got to close the border. The president knows it. The president was probably elected because he brought up immigration because, well, the major political parties were ready to just go ahead and sell out the United States for a few Hispanic votes. We, the people of the United States, feel differently. We kind of like our country the way it is. We sort of want to kind of leave it the way it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to elect a guy who said that what he's going to do is build a wall, and he's going to build that wall. Once again, the political powers that be need to realize that they're cruising for a very unpleasant day in America at some point if they don't stop. Now, there's a problem here. I alluded to it earlier today. Where do you build this magnificent fence? Do you build it on the U.S. side? Well, what about the people? What about Americans who want to get to the Rio Grande? What about them? If people can cross one way, they can cross another. We're not going to be able to get land from Mexico. People in Mexico don't even have the wherewithal to pick up the garbage on their side of the country. On their side of the border, they don't have the wherewithal to pick up garbage. How can they expect how could we expect them to hold a border as some sort of actual important aspect of their lives when they treat it like a garbage dump? So the obvious administrative answer is to build the wall on our side of the border. That means that there are people who own that land it's private ownership of land, especially in Texas. 94% of the land in Texas is in private hands. 94%. You know how much it is in Nevada? It's 11%. 11% of Nevada is not owned by the federal government. Yeah, if I was there, Dean Heller would be having a really hard time. He's the Nevada senator there. So what is the president doing? They say in CNN, Tal Kopan is writing the article that says, the Trump administration is taking quiet steps on seizing borderland. Although approval for a new border wall has yet to come, the Trump administration has taken subtle steps to be able to seize land to build one, including by restarting litigation that has laid dormant for years against landowners, according to a new report from the Senate Democrat. Roughly 2/3 of the U.S.-Mexico border runs through private or state-owned land, meaning the federal government would need to purchase, seize, or seek permission to use land in order to build a border wall. Based on efforts a decade ago to build border fencing, the process is likely to cost the government millions and could take years of complex litigation. Democrats on the Senate Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee produced a report on eminent domain and a border wall in Mexico, citing the administration's lack of clarity about what would be required to build President Obama's proposed wall. The committee points out signs that say the administration is preparing for a fresh coat of such fights. Congress continues to debate whether to give the Department of Homeland Security any money whatsoever to build the new barriers on the southern border. They dang well better. I'm telling you, we are just going to have to get these people out of office. I mean, enough of them so that the rest of them believe that they're the next that are going to be out of office and they're going to have to go back to actually working for a living. In July, Customs and Border Protection issued a notice related to a project to shore up existing fencing in the Rio Grande Valley, which also foreshadowed more to come. Using existing funds for preparatory activities, CBP and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers will soon begin public-facing real estate research activities for the Rio Grande Valley border wall as requirements of the President's fiscal year 2018 budget. Asked about that notice, Carlos Diaz, a spokesman for CBP, said the research includes soil sampling activities, pointed to congressional testimony from CBP leadership that spoke generally of prioritizing efforts in the southwest border, including leverage expertise in federal acquisitions. Now, by the way, before you say, my goodness gracious, that ridiculous evil Trump is trying to steal as much land as he can get his hands on, no, President Obama claims that title, $1.6 million in residential areas. $1.6 million acres as a last second land grab. The president designated 1.35 million acres in Utah as Bear Ears National Monument, setting aside lands that American Indian tribes say they consider sacred cultural and archaeological sites. Now, President Trump is trying to build a wall and is looking for property to be able to build it on. If you lived on the south border of the United States, how much of your land would you give up so that this federal government, the one that operates for, of, and by the people, can also operate in a situation where they can actually get the job done? So if you had land, would you give it up to the greater glory of a border wall? If you had land on the border of the United States and Mexico, would you give it up for your country? This is the Welsh Reports.
All right, man. Yeah, we'll get that back. We'll get those files back time and everything tonight.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I had to do the same thing for Wayne's show.
Okay.
But I see what you're talking about, because like a couple of the files are like a second or two longer.
Yes.
But they're timed at the exact same time. So I could potentially do it right now, but probably just let the show run today, and then we'll do it tonight.
Okay, that's fine.
Because
I'm trying to hit the times, so
I know what you mean. Like,
I'm trying to hit the time anyway. So
yeah, so it does I know what you mean. So the little thing hits like right before it switches. Commercial. Yeah, we'll definitely work that out tonight, man.
Cool.
I'm glad to be here, because before I started like today, I was working in the evenings and like from Wayne's show till 10 o'clock, and now I get to get off at 8 o'clock, so it's a little bit better.
Oh, it's a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah, that the absolute hardest shift that I've found is swing.
Yeah. Man, I've done a lot of weird ones. Like, I've worked for USA Radio for probably 6 years now, and we moved across the country several places, and during that time we had like minimal staff, so I had to work a lot of different times.
Sure.
But I'm glad we're here and settled now.
Let's see.
Well, just holler if you need anything. You got about 2 minutes.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Yes, Miss Sandy, what's up? Goodness sakes. Oh, my. Oh, boy.
All right, you got 1 minute left.
1 damn minute.
Thirty seconds.
30 dang seconds. All right.
All right, here we go.
You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. If you had land on the southern border with Mexico, if you had land on that border, would you give it up for your country so that they could build a wall there to protect this nation? 844-927-6691. 844-927-6691. If you had land on the southern border of the United States, if you had land there, would you give it up for the sake of your nation? Yes or no? Tell me why. 844-927-6691. Truth be told, if I get my way, I might have to make that decision. I'd love to own some Texas on the Rio Grande. I would. But the problem with it is that land is owned by people who have owned it for the better part of a century or more. You see, if you come to Texas, you'll find something. If you really pay attention, you find something that makes it impossible for you to leave. Sam Houston found that to be the case. He came from Tennessee. Lots of other people came too. Davy Crockett, also from Tennessee. There's something here. There's something in the Lone Star State that you can't find anyplace else. I found it. I'm not leaving. I've just never found a place that was better than this. And I've lived everywhere. I'm staying home. Texas is my home. I just wish that other people around the country cared about their states as much as we care about ours here. Because if that was the case, nobody would really care what Roy Moore was undergoing. Because we would have already known that in the United States of America, you are innocent until proven guilty, not the other way around. This is terrible. This is awful on its face. Angel Wings on the talk. We've got a television show on YouTube Live Events. Also, it's a Google Plus Hangout. You can come and see the show. We're on the 10th floor of a really cool building in Dallas, and if you look out my windows behind me, you can see cars and all kinds of really cool stuff.
You got a caller.
Yeah, I know. Let me get to the beautiful and always interesting Candace of Rockford, Illinois. Candace, thanks for joining us. Welcome to the Wells Report.
Thanks, JD. This is a tough question. Would I give up my land if it had been in my family for the better part of a century? But as you're talking, I'm reminded of people who hold stock for 40 years because their grandfather had it. And of course, in the stock market, things can change and they're losing their shirt and they won't give it up because it's important to them. And I think knowing what's going on in our country now, and the federal government, I believe constitutionally is required to pay you for that land. I probably would do it, but I would negotiate to have the least amount possible.
Well, of course. I mean, what I would do is this: I would have to look that over. I wouldn't want to rip off my fellow Americans because, once again, you know, the more you take out of the budget, the more you take out of the public till, the closer you get to participating in the demise of a republic. You see, republics don't get overtaken. They don't get conquered. The way to destroy a republic is to destroy their economy. You destroy it by weakening the money supply. And then what ends up happening is once you have control of the money supply, then you've got virtual control of the people. And they're well on the way to making all this happen. It's not a conspiracy. It's a plan. I don't have need for a tinfoil hat because this is real. This is the Wells Report, USA Radio Network.
All right, sounding good.
Thank you, sir.
All right, back in 20 seconds.
20 seconds then. 20 seconds then.
All right, here we go.
You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number again is 844-927-6691, 844-927-6691. What kind of a person does it take to be a member of the United States military? Do they have to be perfect people? No, they don't have to be perfect. Do they have to be healthy? Yes. And they have to be committed to this nation. And they have to be committed to their mission. And they have to be committed to their training. And there are people who are, for whatever reason, not allowed to be a part of the United States military for one reason or another. These are people who have had mental issues in the past. Now, why would it be out of line to ask people that had mental issues in their earlier lives to step away from the United States military? Well, it's not necessarily out of line, but you do have to understand that there are some behaviors that are contrary to the greater good. This article you can find, by the way, on USA Today, published at high noon today, Eastern time. It will take you aback, written by Tom Vandenbroek. But listen to the kind of people that can get into the United States Army or or the United States military. People with a history of self-mutilation. People with a history of bipolar disorder, depression, drug and alcohol abuse. Those are people that can get waivers now to join the United States Army under an announced policy enacted in August. The decision to open Army recruiting to those with mental health conditions comes as the service faces the challenging goal of recruiting 80,000 new soldiers through September of 2008. To meet last year's goal of 69,000, the Army accepted more recruits who fared poorly on aptitude tests. They increased the number of waivers granted for marijuana use and offered hundreds of thousands, hundreds of millions of dollars in bonuses. Bonuses, waivers. Are those the people that we need to have in the United States military? People who mutilate themselves. People with bipolar disorder. People with depression and drug and alcohol abuse. Seriously? How are you supposed to prove that you're not going to be an issue when you get into the United States military? Make no mistake, there are people with drinking problems in the United States military. There are people in the United States military that cut themselves. They are also accepting people, soldiers recruits who fared poorly on their aptitude tests. It's almost like they didn't realize that Forrest Gump was a movie. Should we allow people who have bipolar disorder, depression, drug and alcohol problems into the United States military? Yes or no? Telephone number is 844-927-6691. Like I said, there are people that have all those things in the United States military right this second. Should they remain there? Why do we have a problem suddenly getting all these people into the United States military? Why do we have these problems? Well, I will tell you why we have these problems. We have these problems because we lost a whole bunch of people in the United States military thanks to, you guessed it, budget cuts during the Obama administration. We set up all kinds of real problems for the United States military moving forward. And if it wasn't for the fact that the United States military trains the very best soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marine, Coast Guardsmen that anybody ever saw, this would have been a serious issue long before this. Elspeth Ritchie, a psychiatrist who retired from the Army as a colonel in 2010, is an expert on waivers for military service, said that people with a history of mental health problems are more likely to have those issues resurface than those who do not, she said. This is our red flag. The question is, how much of a red flag is it? Well, it was enough so that it was not allowed for most of the history of the United States military. These are the true questions that we must face. Politicians ruin the United States military with some harebrained scheme called sequestration. We cannot, for whatever reason, we cannot see it. We could not figure out a way to be able to balance the budget needs of the United States without destroying our military again. Part and parcel of Democrat politics. But of course, what do you expect? What do you expect? President Obama was a self-styled 60s radical, even though he was 8 at the time. He honestly believes he's doing the right thing by keeping the military small. Ronald Reagan had it from day one. He did. He made us feel good about our country, made us feel good about service in the United States military, gave the military what they needed to be able to move forward. And they did. So now we are in a position where these politicians have made it, well, we have a problem. We have a dearth of American fighting men. Well, why don't you just go back a couple of years and get those people that you threw out of the military saying, hey, look, I know you wanted to make this career, but sorry, it didn't work out, so bye-bye. Why don't we do that? Why don't we recall some of those people that want to go back and finish their retirement? I had the privilege of meeting someone, one of America's great fighting men, over the weekend, this weekend. And he was a guy that had a 10-year hole in the middle of his military career. And then went back to it. He said it was incredibly difficult to take those 10 years off, then get back into it. But just having met the guy over the weekend, I realized that that man was made of strong and tough, durable steel. And that's one of the things that I really, really like about him, in fact. So what we need to do is we need to go back to the people that lost their jobs, their military careers, in fact, thanks to sequestration. We simply must. And that's how you get these people back to work, and that's how you get the strength back. You don't contemplate a return to the draft. You don't do that. You don't need to do that. You go back and you send out a notice that says, hey, we were wrong. We didn't have the money. We've got the money back. We want you back. Somebody who is truly an American would do that. And those are the people that we need in the American military. We don't need a draft because we've got people that will join simply because it's the right thing to do. But we do need to have people in these militaries that are not so focused on themselves, but indeed are focused on other things. You start talking about people that have a need to cut themselves. Well, that compulsion has to be not as strong as service in the United States military. It must. It's got to take a back seat. Accepting recruits with poor qualifications causes problems. In 2006, an Iraqi girl was raped and her family killed by U.S. soldiers, one of whom required waivers for minor criminal activity and poor educational background to join the Army. Guidance for screening potential recruits with histories that include self-mutilation made clear the applicant must prove appropriate documentation to obtain the waiver. According to September's memo to commanders, these requirements include a detailed statement from the applicant, medical records, evidence from an employer, if the injury was job-related, such as photos submitted by the recruiter, and a psychological or psychiatric eval, and clearance. Do we want those folks back in? Listen, I'm not saying nasty things about, quote, those folks. But you got to refer to them as something. The Army did not respond to a question of how many waivers they would put out, if there had been, and whether or not that issue that had been a policy that changed. In fiscal year 2017, the active duty Army recruited nearly 69,000 soldiers. 1.9% belong to what is known as Category 4. That refers to troops who score the lowest in the category on military aptitude tests. In 2016, 0.6% of Army recruits came from Category 4. The Pentagon mandated that services accept no more than 4% of recruiting classes from Category 4. In addition, waivers for marijuana use while legal in uniform jumped from 191 in 2016 to 506 in 2017. Eight states have now legalized the recreational use of marijuana. Do we want to take the drug requirement out of getting a security clearance? Do we want to do that? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. So we don't know how many waivers they're going to give. We don't know how many people with bipolar disorder are going to be allowed back in the military. Does anybody have any idea how battle fatigue would affect these people and their sicknesses and illnesses? Anybody have any idea what you do with these folks? You're listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number is 844-927-6691. Waivers for folks in the military with mental problems. Are you okay with that? This is the Wells Report.
All right, man.
All right, man.
You got about 3.5.
3 and a dang half. What do you do for fun, Michael?
Just, I write music and stuff, like instrumental.
Well, that's very cool. What instruments do you play?
I play guitar and little piano, keyboard, stuff like that.
Cool deal.
But I mainly write right now I mainly write instrumental hip hop stuff like that.
Hip hop.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. No, I mean my uncle was I moved out here from Raleigh, but I originally from Memphis, Tennessee.
Yes, you're from Memphis?
Yeah.
Memphis.
My uncle was a record producer there, and I worked with him for a couple of years, without getting paid to get in the door.
There you go.
And so I did that for a while and worked with him. He did a Stevie Ray Vaughan album.
Oh.
He did a ZZ Top album. He did this band from out here called the Gin Blossoms.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did some pretty big records back in the day, but now everybody can pretty much set up a recording studio in their house.
Sure can.
A lot of them stopped going to the big studios except for just mastering and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Muscle Shoals.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really into music and stuff like that, and just finding new stuff to do out here in Phoenix. Yeah.
Where you're having fun. You're having fun when it's 125 outside.
Yeah, man, I've definitely never felt anything like that. It feels like you just open the oven door sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's actually really nice right now, though.
Cool. It's awesome. Oh.
Me and my girlfriend are looking to find a house. I've been living in this apartment down the street from our work, and me and my girlfriend trying to find us a house to buy, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah, it's probably we're probably gonna be looking for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Because the studio where we work out here is right in the suburbs, probably the most expensive part of town.
Wow.
So I might have to look a little bit further away.
Yeah, we moved into a place where there was hardly anybody there. There's this beautiful thing, this beautiful place to live right out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
And then a shopping center built in, and then another shopping center built in, and then another shopping center, and suddenly a hospital or two. And good heavens to Betsy, man.
That's how it happens.
Yeah.
All right, here we go, man.
I'm ready. You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells, 844-927-6691. Let's talk a little bit about people who are not necessarily top flight candidates being part of the United States military. Do we really want to go down that road? You know, part of me believes that the United States, certainly the government, just can't stand prosperity. A tale of two wars, if you will. In small countries. Southeast Asia. The country was Vietnam. The war was reviled at home. The Vietnam War was a mess. It was also not a defeat, but a military victory in every possible aspect. And yet, there are people who believe that we lost the Vietnam War when quite the opposite is true. Why did we go there? To stop the rise of communism in the Pacific Rim. That's why we went there. And what ended up happening was that domino theory that we were concerned about actually did indeed stop with American intervention into Vietnam. It cost us 58,000 of our fellow men and women. 58,000 died in that war. How about Southwest Asia? Middle East, Afghanistan. We fought that war for a longer period of time than Vietnam. The war has been much, much more appreciated from a standpoint of what Americans do with people that are in desperate need. And so what we have here is we have a much more effective military. In this second war that was longer, did we lose 58,000 troops? No, we lost a little over 6,000 troops. 6,000 troops. Barely 10% of the people we lost in Vietnam, we lost in a war that was longer, had more theaters of operations. And why? Well, because a lot of them weren't on drugs when they were in country. A lot of them had no interest in drugs whatsoever because they were different people. They weren't draftees. They were volunteers. If the government wanted more people, if they wanted an 80,000 more people, all they had to do was just say, we'd like to have 80,000 more people join the United States military. They'd come in droves. Droves. And that is the quintessential reason why the American military is so good. And that's why it will always be good if we continue to do the things that we know that make America great. The standards of life that we keep, our morality, our belief in the good things. All these things under attack now through the Obama years. If we can rekindle the things that are great about America, and stick to those principles, then we will have a great country for as long as we do those things. It is absolutely critical that we do. You're listening to the Wells Report. This is the USA Radio Network.
All right.
How we doing?
Doing great, man. You got a little over 6 minutes.
You okay? I'm going to go run down the hallway for a minute.
All right, I'll be here.
Okay. I'm back.
All right, you got about 3 minutes.
3 dang minutes. Hi, JD's chair. Hi. Buddha, 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 Duda day. What the hell? What's going on here? There it is, right there. Okay. Jesus. Yeah, and I had the volume up. Oh. Yeah, the volume is a bit different. And the phone is ringing, but I'm not answering it. No one can make me answer it. I'm not going to answer it. I shall not.
All right, you got 1 minute.
All righty. 1 flippin' minute.
1 minute.
1 minute. Just a quick layover. Cafty. Earbuds? Really?
All right, here we're coming back in 10 seconds.
10 dang seconds then. North to south, coast to coast, you are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number is as follows. It's 844-927-6691. Why don't you join us? Give me a buzz. Check in. Tell us what's going on in your corner of the world. Yes. 1 flipping minute. All right, here we go. So Roger Goodell has been the commissioner of the National Football League, and he did a very, very good job in the first part of his tenure. But the shine is off of the bloom is off the rose, shall we say? And it comes time for him to renew his contract. There are a couple of stories about that I thought I would share with you. And the reason that I'm sharing with you these things is because, like we were talking about yesterday, or just last hour, we were talking about how America's military is considering taking people that they would not consider taking insofar as they need 80,000 people. What I'm saying is that if you really have a problem with that, before you start taking people that cut themselves or have been diagnosed as being bipolar or on some kind of psychotropic drug or something along that line, maybe what you want to do is you want to raise the age limit for service. Maybe you want to do that. Maybe what you want to do is you want to say, hey, people, we need you. Come and join the United States military, instead of opening it up for people that really shouldn't be involved in the United States military. Because if people are having trouble living through normal life, what are they going to do under combat conditions? We see what people do under conditions of, shall we say, great prosperity bordering on insane wealth. NFL Commissioner Robert Goodell has overseen many of the changes in the NFL that have led to unbelievably huge salaries for athletes that now are turning their, I don't know what it is. I can't explain it. I don't know what their beef with America is. Insofar that they've led a charmed life based on nothing more than what America actually is. But just like Roger Goodell often got credit for good things, he also is getting credit, probably undeserved, for bad things. Empty stadiums in the NFL is a big problem. And you know why people aren't showing up is because the players aren't worth watching. Oh, don't make no mistake. If you like football, the game of American football as played by the winning teams in the NFL is some of the most amazing sport that you'll ever see. I have never seen such amazing athletic ability as portrayed out on those fields every Sunday. Just masterpieces of athletic achievement. And yet, those are always, at least often, sullied by ridiculous behavior like, oh, I don't know, knocking your girlfriend out cold. What? Using your standings in the community to create opportunities for sexual misconduct. Really? Domestic violence, drugs, alcohol. And then some idea that, well, your country is really just a terrible country, even though you're getting paid $25 million to play linebacker. And so you don't stand for the national anthem. This information that came on the heels of the fact that the United States military paid the league millions upon millions of dollars to bolster the NFL's reputation as being pro-military. But you get one disaffected player, one guy with amazingly, just unbelievable athletic ability, but doesn't have the constellation of those athletic abilities necessary to play quarterback in the NFL. And so what he ends up doing is he ends up running across people that say, you really ought to use your notoriety for the great things that people should actually be believing, like the country is bad. And it's not worth standing for when you play this piece of music. What? And of course, he bought it. So he starts making a big deal out of it. And the more people questioned him about it, the more of a big deal he made out of it, until other people said, yeah, let's do that too. They stood on national television and raised black clenched fists, white clenched fists, stood armed, locked and locked, kneeled together, stood up together. And people quit showing up at the stadiums. And, oh, by the way, quit showing up to watch television, too. And now, under these circumstances, Roger Goodell is renegotiating his contract. He wants to have his salary raised. This is according to information that has been denied. I'll get to the denials in just a minute. He wants his salary raised from $30 million to $49 million per year, $49.5 million per year. He would like a private jet for life, requested lifetime health insurance for his family. He's currently having trouble with Jerry Jones, the Dallas Cowboys owner, who has threatened to sue the NFL if negotiations regarding Goodell's contract extension are finalized without approval from all of the NFL team owners. A lot of unnamed NFL owners told ESPN there are several owners in the league who don't make $40 million a year. That number for Roger is too much. It's offensive. It's unseemly. Goodell has made headlines in recent months for his handling of league players protesting during the national anthem. He said last month, "We want our players to stand during the national anthem, but stop short of imposing a rule for players to do so." Mistake. One team owner regarding the possibility of Goodell possibly would leave his position. The problem with the NFL is no one is talking about the games anymore. It's about concussions. Jones versus Goodell. Ezekiel Elliott's suspension. The anthem. No one's talking about football. It's killing the game. Yeah, that's right. Other owners have told sports networks that Roger is defiant. They don't believe he'll take a pay cut or resign as commissioner of the NFL. I happen to believe that the NFL has a commissioner because you want to keep the entire league out of court whenever humanly possible. That Jerry Jones would throw the court and the commissioner's office into court is an incredibly bad idea. And so Jerry Jones apparently standing up and saying, "I want every NFL owner to have a vote," makes sense. But if, say, for example, Jerry Jones presses his position just a bit too far, there is a remedy for that as well. Multiple owners have been discussing the possibility of throwing Jerry Jones into forfeiture of the Dallas franchise. This will never happen, but it's possible. Article 8 of the NFL's Constitution and Bylaws, Section 8.13, authorizes the commissioner to determine that an owner has been guilty of or conduct of detrimental to the welfare of the league or professional football. If the commissioner believes the available sanction, a $500,000 fine, is not adequate or sufficient, the commissioner may refer the issue to the NFL's executive committee, which has the power to compel cancellation or forfeiture of the franchise in the league of any member club involved or implicated. So they could throw Jerry Jones out of the league. I doubt that will happen. Because at the end of the day, the NFL wants Jerry Jones more than it wants Roger Goodell. Out of Fox Business Today, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell reportedly asked for a $49.5 million contract extension. Mark Gannis, president of Sports Corps and consultants to the league's 32 team owners, told Fox Business's Varney and Company the lavish demands, which were reported by ESPN, are untrue. He didn't ask for the contract. The term of the art these days, fake news. One person puts out a story because they have an agenda. That's what happened here. To quote one of the members of the committee, that story is garbage. Goodell also reportedly requested the lifetime use of a private jet and health insurance for his family. Gannis struck down those claims as well. The reality is where Roger's contract would be is roughly the same amount of money that he's making now. And without being very specific, there may be performance clauses that would be voted on by many of the owners as each year comes up. Despite NFL protests, which have resulted in a rating slide, team owners will look to Goodell to play a key role in leading the league through the next collective bargaining agreement and broadcast contract cycle. This sport is in trouble. This sport is in trouble because it's been picking fights with and baiting the bulldog with for a long, long time. The people of the United States want to see good, wholesome entertainment. The NBA went through a very, very bad bit of time when their stars started talking about the fact that we don't want to be role models for your kids. The very narrow-minded parents and grandparents of children who came to NBA basketball games as often as they possibly could, who pay the season ticket prices and all of those things, saw things a little bit differently. It took the NBA a ways to get over it. They're almost there, but not quite. The NFL, on the other hand, is just entering the desert. They're entering the desert of self-inflicted stupidity. The NFL game is a game of American values played out on a football field. Power, strength, incredible athletic ability. All of these things coming together in a ballet that is so good, it's hard to believe. And yeah, they need to return the sport to what it's supposed to be, a spectacle of amazing capability instead of angry people upset at the latest stupidity. This is the Wells Report.
Alrighty. Sounding good. You get about 3.5.
Thank you, man.
Okay.
I play drums.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I played for a long time.
Awesome.
And I stopped for a long time. And then my wife says, "How come you don't have drums?" I said, "Well, because it's harder. Go get drums." So I went and got drums. And then they sat for a while and nothing happened. And they go, "Well, how come you're not playing your drums?" And I said, "Well, you got to spend a lot of money on heads and all that kind of stuff." So she says, go buy the heads. So I bought heads. I found out that I had purchased, totally by accident, some of the best sounding drums in American music history. Those are those three-ply reinforcing ring natural maple Slingerlands. And they are awesome.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. I got those things tuned up and so on, and they just sound freaking amazing. I can't play them very well, but I try. Because it's like one thing that you forget. One thing you forget when you play air drums is actually how the stick reacts when you hit a head.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so you kind of it's not pretty.
Well, you
So-
mean like the shock from hitting something, like how it vibrates or something.
Well, what it does is it's like if you pretend that you're playing right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What ends up happening is that your timing is really, really good until you actually put sticks in your hand and hit a head.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
Instead of going it's it's all out of time, and it screws you up,
I got you. Okay.
right? And it kind of messed my fills, which were always really pretty good.
Yeah.
I can't remember any of them.
Man.
And so I've just been trying to get it back, and every now and then, it's like I'll play a song that is reminiscent of something that I played in college, like "Got to Get You Into My Life" by Earth, Wind and Fire.
Mm-hmm.
And I can play that pretty well. And there's some other things that I can play, but then, you just fall in and fall out of it. All that Led Zeppelin stuff I used to play.
Oh yeah, well, that's got to be hard.
It was, well, I decided that what I was going to do is I was actually going to learn how to play properly again. I was actually going to learn how to do it right. And in doing so, I admitted that I didn't know what I was hearing. And so I started going back, and thankfully the internet is a wonderful thing.
Oh yeah.
Because you can see a lot of things that you did not know. I'll tell you a story about one song in particular.
All right. You got about 30 seconds.
All right.
Yeah, this stuff is really fun though. Messing around. I love recording on the computer. There's so much stuff you can do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All right, here we go.
You are listening to the Wells Report. My telephone number is 844-927-6691. Make that 6619. Little dyslexia. First thing on Monday afternoon, 844-927-6619. Join us on the air. Talking about Roger Goodell and his contract situation and the tough times we find the NFL in. Has the NFL truly annoyed you? Has it truly made you mad? It has truly made me mad. A lot of my friends go, "Are you kidding me?" And I guess the hardest thing for me to see is all these NFL stadiums that are empty. That's truly incredible. Empty NFL stadiums? What? We live in Dallas. The giant silver cockroach over in Arlington is where the Cowboys play, and I sort of lost the radio naming rights to the giant silver cockroach, because many people just wanted to call it the Death Star. I didn't think it looked like the Death Star as much as it looks like the giant silver cockroach. And there's this giant television in there. It's like 60 feet long. It's 30 feet tall and something like that. And I wanted to call that the giant Jerry Egotron. But once again, in order to get a seat, in order to get one of the, I think there are 110,000 seats in that stadium. In order to get a seat, you had to buy a license to purchase a season ticket and a season seat. Now, remember, there are about 15 million people living within driving distance of the giant silver cockroach. It's AT&T Stadium, in case you're wondering. Anyway, so there are a lot of people that had the $16,000 it took to purchase a seat license. Then you had to pay for your season tickets on top of that. How much was it before people were out there? I have no idea. But I know a lot of those seats aren't getting sat in. There is news on this, by the way, that just came down. The NFL wants Cowboys owner Jerry Jones to zip it to stop his threatened lawsuit over Commissioner Roger Goodell's potential contract extension. The New York Times is reporting that the Compensation Committee has issued a cease and desist warning to Jones. It comes after the committee held a conference call on Monday, today, to discuss Goodell's contract. Jones recently said NFL owners have been misled regarding the key facts of the negotiations. ESPN reported Goodell is seeking nearly $50 million in annual salary with his next deal, along with the lifetime use of a private jet and free health insurance for his family, I think for life. Seriously? That, by the way, being refuted by his agent. Let me explain why this is so important. This is proof of the American system. I'm a much bigger believer in baseball than I am football. But I'll take a run at this anyway. Football is a sport where kids start very young and they work their way through youth leagues and so on. Get to high school football, and that's pretty seriously good football, especially here in Texas. Then they go to college football, and that's even better. It's truly amazing, especially since everybody figured out how to play the West Coast offense, and now pretty much everybody plays a pro set West Coast. So when they get to the pros, they're doing so well, and they're so incredibly good, and they've worked so incredibly hard. They've learned skills that are incredibly difficult to replace, if at all possible. And what they do is they revel in the amount of money and opportunity they have to play this sport. That reaffirms the fact that if you work hard enough in America, eventually you will be successful. But you have to work, and you have to work really hard. And that's one of the great things about the United States of America. It is still a meritocracy. As long as it remains that, this will be a great nation. If not, it shall not be. You're listening to the Wells Reports. This is the USA Radio Network.
All right.
All right, then.
Sounding good.
Thank you.
And you got about 3.5.
What are these callers asking about?
Oh, that was that lady was calling for a different show, and then the one before that was a wrong number or something.
Oh. Ooh.
Yeah. We get strange calls sometimes, like about sometimes this thing that keeps coming up asking us to name our something about Google Maps. Your company is not yet it's something about putting our company on Google Maps, but it keeps calling here like once a week.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a recording.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, the traffic begins to slow down around 5 o'clock in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, if you can go to Facebook.
Uh-huh.
Go to Facebook and type in John David Vox, JONDAVIDVOX.
Okay.
You should have an opportunity to grab my show or grab my page.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
All right.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm logging in now.
Okay.
I keep my password. I don't store my password and my login stuff on this computer like everybody else does.
Yeah.
Because I've seen people get on other coworkers' accounts and write funny things in, and I don't want them to write.
No, you don't want that to happen. No.
Yeah, they mess with this one guy pretty bad. Like, I don't want them to mess with me like that. All right.
So anyway, now look on my timeline.
Let me see here. John David Vox, VOX.
Yes. JONDAVIDVOX.
Okay, is it the one that says John David Deboard Vox?
No.
Okay.
John David Deboard Vox?
Yeah, that's what one of them says.
Okay, let me see what I got here.
John David Deboard Vox.
Let's see what we got here. John David, it says people, post from friends. Huh.
Is that the that I might be looking at the wrong one. Just so yours doesn't say DEBORD like John David Deboard Vox?
No.
Okay, I think I might be. Let me see. Hit see all. I'll find yours.
John David Deboard Vox. DEBORD. That's all one word?
No. It's Deboard is. Yeah.
Okay, so it's
Go ahead.
So you're spelling JON space DAVID space DEBORD space Vox. Is that what you're doing?
No, I didn't put D-board in there. That's just one of the results that came up.
Huh. How did they spell that?
And
You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. If you are new to this broadcast, then you probably do not know that I am a pathetic motorhead. It started in the drag racing culture of Southern California and Western America. I finished up my high school in Barstow, California, which is a small town between LA and Las Vegas, out in the middle of the Mojave Valley in the Mojave Desert. My dad was working for NASA out near a place called Fort Irwin, which is where the National Training Center is. If you happen to be one of those people who have been through armor school, you will eventually get to the National Training Center, where you will go up against what's called an opposition force, or OPFOR, that uses military vehicles and tanks and such from arguably America's enemies. And yeah, they have all the tanks there. They have T-72s, Russian tanks. They got them all. And they go out there and they fight World War III out there in the National Training Center virtually every week. On the other hand, there has to be a place for the kids to live while you're working at either Fort Irwin or you're working for the NASA Goldstone complex, which is where all of us worked, my dad and all my friends. So we lived on I guess it would be the northern side of town. It was good living. It was boring. It was terrible. Barstow was a horrifyingly bad place. But once you got a hang of it, and once you were able to do something fun like race a car incredibly fast, then you could make it a little bit, it was at least tolerable, shall we say. I had two very, very fast cars, all made fast by the father of a friend of mine, a dear friend who still is a friend of mine to this day, Jesse Hankins. We met in this very same street racing culture. There were four of us. We were kind of the Four Musketeers. Doug Freeman, James Spear, Jess Hankins, and John David Wells. And we went out and we had a great time. It was a lot of fun. At the center of all of us, however, was Jess's dad, Earl Hankins. Mr. Hankins was a machinist at the Santa Fe locomotive rebuilding shops, also in Barstow, California. They'd bring those great big machines in, they'd take the engines out, they'd completely rebuild them, and they'd put them back good as new or better. They taught people how to be machinists in the union-sponsored way. It was truly an amazing place to see. An amazing place to live. But Mr. Hankins was also a pathetic motorhead. And he loved watching us bring the cars in, and he always had the same rules. He said, don't bring me a hot rod that you can't drive properly. In other words, he didn't expect us to show up with a whole bunch of speeding tickets. He wouldn't have anything to do with you. He said, you got to learn how to drive like a man. Before I teach you how to build a car that requires a man to drive. Okay. The first car I brought him was a 1969 Firebird. Had a 455 in it. We took that car from not so good to running incredibly well. It was a very fast car. But it wasn't as fast as my real race car, which was a 1967 Mustang GT. That car was brutally fast, with the emphasis on brutal. Jess and I and James and Doug would take our cars to Saturday night races, and we'd have a ball. If you want to know what it was like, you can watch Street Outlaws, but you got to understand something. You know, those guys in Street Outlaws, they run for 500 and 1,000 and 2,000 and 3,000 and thousands of dollars. We didn't have that kind of money. We also didn't have that kind of car either. We had cars that required frugality because we just didn't have a lot of money. But what we ended up doing was we ended up going really, really fast, and we had a lot of fun, and that gave way to what is an even more vibrant hot rod culture that's going on right now. The kids today have cars that are awesome. Are they as brutal as ours were? No, they don't have the incredible torque that our cars produced, that low end, just literally bounce off the pavement torque. But they're getting there. In 2018, you will have your choice of at least 2 amazing cars. One is the very latest iteration of the Dodge Demon. It is a limited production 6.2 liter Hemi V8 engine powered car that hits the street with 840 horsepower. Dodge says it's the industry's first street legal production drag car. The National Hot Rod Association has certified it as the world's fastest quarter-mile production vehicle. As a matter of fact, it doesn't qualify as a stock vehicle in its current form because it's too powerful. It has too much horsepower. It has drawn, however, critics, like you might expect. Automotive News, the leading trade publication covering the auto industry, called for banning the Demon from the street in an editorial in April. The car is so inherently dangerous to the common safety of motorists that its registration as a roadworthy automobile should be banned. Barely legal because it is massively powerful and has massive acceleration. By the way, the Dodge Demon will cover a quarter mile in 960 at 140 miles an hour. It goes from 0 to 60 in 2.3 seconds. If, say, for example, you don't like the Dodge Demon, there's always the Corvette ZR1. That car is the fastest Corvette ever. And if you know anything about Corvettes, then you know that Corvettes have a remarkable past, but an even more remarkable present. General Motors has revealed the new iteration of the Corvette ZR1. The old ZR1 was a totally aluminum big block 427 powered behemoth built in 1969. 435 claimed horsepower from the factory. It was well over 600. The new Corvette ZR1 gets 755 horsepower from a 6.2 liter 8-cylinder supercharged dual-injected engine. For the first time, the ZR1 will be offered with an automatic transmission. The 7-speed manual is still available. The question is this: have we outsmarted ourselves? Are we going too fast? Do we have cars that are too powerful? In my way of thinking, no. But then again, I did drive from Las Vegas. I did drive from Barstow, California, the Lenwood Road exit, to the second Stoddard Wells Road exit in 11 minutes one evening. The reason I went so fast is because I had overslept and had to get to work. It was 30 miles. The speed average was, I'm not going to tell you, but you can figure it out. If 60 miles an hour will get you 1 mile in exactly 1 minute, then you have a pretty good idea how fast I was going. I was going as fast as the car would go. It was the most dangerous thing I've ever done. It was the stupidest thing I've ever done. The car was not capable, was not safe at that speed. If I had lost control of the car, I'd be dead. And I almost did several times, but didn't know it. One of the things that you don't understand about a car that'll do 200 miles an hour is that while you're driving down the road as fast as your talent will allow you to drive, the actual field of vision that you have, that you can actually do something about when you see a car pulling out in front of you, gets smaller and smaller and smaller until about 200 miles an hour, when the circle of things that you can actually do something about in your vision is a little over 6 inches. That doesn't mean that somebody outside of that circle can't pull out in front of you and you can hit them, but you can't do anything about it because your body won't react fast enough. You can see everything out there, but you can't do anything about it. Which means if Mom and Pop America is out there on the freeway and you come around the corner at 3 a.m., by the time you see them, you won't be able to do anything. You won't be able to do anything about it. And you will hit them and they will die. And so will you. But you see, I don't have any problem with people being able to buy cars that they can kill themselves in. I think that when an entire culture starts regulating the behavior of 21 and over adults to do as they choose and do what they can afford, I think we've turned a very dangerous corner in this society. I have driven several incredibly great cars. I've driven a Ferrari F430. I've driven a Dodge Viper, and Dodge Viper does live up to its reputation. It's the only car ever made in America that's sole purpose is to kill its driver. I've driven an Audi R8, and I fell in love with it. And as soon as I could possibly afford one, I would buy one, except I can't get one for the kind of money that I can get a ZR1 Corvette for. The ZR1 Corvette is cheaper. It goes faster. And it's American. Does it handle as well? No. But will the Corvette beat the Audi R8 on a racetrack? Yes. And does on a regular basis. Why? Well, because it may not necessarily go around the corners as fast as an Audi R8, but it can certainly get down that straightaway a hell of a lot faster than an Audi R8. Why am I telling you all this? Why is this a topic on this broadcast? And that gets back to the fact that there are people that can tell you what you can and cannot do, and they are the people that are enemies of the United States. No, I'm sorry, you can't have a car that goes that fast. We went through an entire age of people telling us that we had to have cars that didn't pollute. And they all ran like dogs. But we figured out how to make them faster, because that's what racers do. Until Detroit figured out how to make them faster. But the simple case of the matter is that we want to be able to do what we want to do, and we want to keep that. Whether you ever buy a Corvette ZR1 or a nearly 900 horsepower Dodge Demon, that's not the point. The point is that in America, people should be able to buy those cars if they want to. That's called freedom and liberty. This is called The Wells Report on the USA Radio Network.
All right, man. Sorry about that. I was getting into the Facebook thing and talked to you right up to all the way to the music started.
Don't worry about it. That's why the music is there.
Okay. All right. So I think I found your page.
Okay.
John David Wales, and it says you posted something 2 hours ago. So the Wales Report is on again today, Monday, November.
Yes.
15th.
Click on that.
Okay. And you mean add friend?
You just click on it.
Click on the Wales Report.
Yeah, by all means, add a friend.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, you should be able to see me in my black sweater, and you should be able to see out the window, and that's I-35 out over my right shoulder.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay. Hi. I'm waving at you now, and there's a delay, obviously, so it'll be coming up in a moment. But this is our little studio.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Do you like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to do, see, that's me waving. So it's about a 30-second delay.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. I would like to see that studio down there. We heard so much about them going down there and building it.
Well, I mean, there's a certain charm to it in that we took just basic tables and turned them into broadcast furniture. And I think that my next bit of broadcast furniture is going to be not broadcast furniture.
Yeah.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to replace this table that we're sitting on right now with one that we can raise and lower.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
You know.
Yeah.
But I got to find chairs because I like having a workspace where you're sitting up on like bistro size chairs, you know, like bar stool size.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, where you're up in the air a little bit.
Yeah, that's kind of what we got here.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to do. And what I want to do is I also want to, you know, I want to do that, and I want to make this. I want to do some audio things to the place. And I'll get those done here pretty soon.
Yeah.
You know. But I also want more than one shot. I want to be able to switch it over here to my right. And I don't know that you can see. I don't think you can. Yeah, it's because it's like right under where the 2017 is, right in that area, right there. There's a place for a switcher, so I could actually switch the cameras.
Oh, okay.
You know, to around the room and so on and so forth. You know, get a long shot over there and get a shot.
You live stream the show every day?
Every day.
Okay. Awesome.
Yes, and I do have a cough button, but I had to defy the boss to get it. Yeah, I had to defy the boss to get it because
I got you.
yeah. We'll talk about that another time.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do, man.
Yeah, you absolutely. Let's see, Trump Jr. and WikiLeaks. What do we have here? Messaged each other. Huh.
All right, you got 30 seconds.
All right, then.
All right, here we go.
You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. We're talking about some very, very fast cars. If you have a motorhead mentality, as I do, then you are in a position where you've always tried to build incredibly fast cars. I've had the very good fortune of hanging around in the racing community and have had a chance to drive some very good cars, some serious race cars, including the old Red Lobster GTP car. That was truly amazing. It changes your viewpoint. It changes your viewpoint of how you go about just driving down the road. That's what these cars are for. These cars it's the difference between driving a biplane and a fighter jet. And you should have the choice of being able to have a nice, comfortable, big old Cadillac. You should be able to drive one of those if you want to, or you should be able to get into a car that moves your spirit and your soul as well as your body. But because we drive on the roads with everybody else, there are two things that have to happen. One, if you're driving faster than anybody else, you have a certain fiduciary responsibility not to kill them. And that's really hard to do. Because if you're driving down a road and there's somebody in the slow lane and you're doing 200 miles an hour and they see you in the rearview mirror and suddenly there's a dead antelope in front of them and they change lanes in front of you, you're going to hit them. They could change lanes in front of you a half mile in front of you, and you're still going to hit them. And they didn't deserve to die because you decided to get a Corvette that did 210 miles an hour. So there's that. The other responsibility is this. If you believe that people should have access to these cars, you need to watch for them on the road. The hardest thing for people who are just typical drivers to understand is how fast or slow something coming at them is, especially at night. So when you see somebody coming up at you at night, you might want to watch them for a couple of seconds, and I mean a couple of seconds, to see how fast they're coming at you. And you should drive defensively. That's how all of us learned how to drive. The guy out there that is about to run over you is the guy you need to be watching every time you go out there. Because if you stop watching for the guy that's about to run over you, then that guy is about to run over you, and he will. Defensive driving is an art form. It's one that's not taught anymore, which is why we are lousy drivers now, and we used to be pretty good. But cars like the Corvette ZR1 and the Dodge Demon and the Audi R8 and the Ferrari F430, the Lamborghini Gallardo, and all those cars that are incredibly expensive and incredibly fast and incredibly beautiful need to be available to people who earn them. And they should be able to buy them in America because it's freedom and liberty that they are exercising, not an ostentatious display of wealth. They should have the car that they believe they should have. You should have the car that you believe you should have. And on and on. That's called freedom and liberty. The executive producer of the Wells Report is the Philip Brown. studio coordinator. Mike, thanks very much for your work today. I'm John David Wells. See you tomorrow for another edition of the Wells Report on the USA Radio Network.
All right, man. Good show.
Mike, I'm sorry I didn't know your last name.
It's Hawkins.
Hawkins, I won't forget.
H-A-W-K-I-N-S.
I won't forget.
All right, awesome, man.
So you happy?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, brother. Thank you so much.
All right, man.
Take good care.
We'll talk to you tomorrow.
I look forward to it.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, thank you, Yvonne Field. Thank you. Let's see. Let me run that by. Thank you, Evie. All right. And now I am going to say, mwah.